Hello, my name is Clark Moore, host number 2 of the Pitch It To Me podcast, and welcome to the gameplay video for the Faux Armory Deck Bravo. This is a series where I will be designing a budget $50 classic constructed deck for different heroes in Flesh and Blood. The idea here is to sort of fill out the space of the Armory deck. Maybe you really like the idea of the product, but they didn't print your hero exactly. That's what this is for. Today's episode will be on Bravo, and this will be a gameplay video that is supposed to augment an article that I've written over on the Rathe Times. The link to that will be down in the doobly-doo. Please go check that out. If you are here from the article, then welcome to the channel. I hope you like the video, subscribe, and check out some of the other stuff that we've done here. With all that being said, let's jump into the deck list. We'll go over it very briefly. I go more in depth about it in the article, but I'll hit some of the major notes so that you know what to look out for in our gameplay. Here's the deck list. It is a Tectonic Plating based list. This is going to be probably the most important equipment piece that you'll see me using throughout the gameplay. As an action, we can spend a resource to make a Seismic Surge or a token, which reduces the cost of our first Guardian attack action card on the next turn. So we're sort of banking a resource. This is really useful because it's going to help us turn on Anathos' ability, where if we can find a way of pitching 2 cards that cost 3 or more, it's going to attack for 6. And that's going to help sort of attack the opponent's deck more so than ours. So where they are going to have to block with 2 cards from their hand, sending them to graveyard, we're just going to be pitching them. And that's going to put the 2 cards back into our deck. So our deck isn't going to change at all, and they're going to lose 2 cards every single turn if we keep that up. We also have these nice little 2-cost red go again auras, which fit nicely into the cost curve. You'll see some good opportunities where I get a chance to play these and follow it up with something else. Chokeslam is the bread and butter of the deck. These 4-cost, 8-power red attacks. So when we combo them with Bravo's ability to spend 2 resources to give them Dominate, we're pitching 2 blues in our hands to come in for 8 Dominate. And if it deals 4 or more damage, their attacks aren't going to be able to gain any power. And that's actually really, really strong against a lot of the decks that have been printed so far. So that's really good. Debilitate's another really good effect. Just about everybody in the game throws attack action cards, so making the first one deal 2 less damage is really nice. And even if we don't find a way of dominating these attacks, say we're throwing it with just a single blue off of our Seismic Surge, so it goes from 4 costs to 3. So we just pitch a single blue to throw these guys. That's really good too, because that's still 8 damage. That's a 1/5 of their life total. So Guardian is really about throwing these chunky attacks until we can hit one of these cards. These are our 7-cost finishers. These are our power cards. You're going to hear me mention a lot about us looking to pivot, and pivoting is when we stop blocking, we let ourselves take some damage, and then we return with one of these giant on-hits. So Crippling Crush comes in for 11 damage, and if it crushes, then they have to discard 2 random cards. That pretty much takes all the cards out of their hand immediately. Starstruck does something very similar, but it prevents them from playing their attacks. It's a very complicated attack effect. It also has a nice little unity thing down there. Maybe we'll get the chance to use that in our gameplay. The deck also features a lot of defensive tools. We not only run Sink Below, a very classic 0 for 4 defense reaction, but we also run Unmovables. That's really going to help us against decks that throw much larger attacks, but it can be a little awkward in our hands sometimes. And then we have a lot of blues down here. These are just nice, chunky attacks. Like we have these 6-cost 8 attack cards. We're not really looking to dominate these. They're just good, powerful attacks. We want to throw them and say, deal with this. You know, it comes in for a lot of damage. We want them to block with cards from their hand so that they then can't attack us for as much damage. And then we can throw more, right? We're trying to create that space to throw our crippling crushes, to dominate our choke slams. That's how we're going to win these games. Or we just go into the late game with Anathos. That's really what the Bravo deck is trying to do. You'll get to see a lot more of the specific plays that I have set up in here in our games. So let's just go ahead and jump into the gameplay. So we have here a community member from the Pitch It To Me podcast Discord community. He's a good friend of mine. He's a local. It looks like he's selected Kayo for this gameplay. So in preparation for this, we said, hey, we're not trying to do anything. We're just trying to show off the deck. So let's go ahead and do that. So turn 1, what we're looking to do is land a dominated effect from Bravo, which we drew. So we're going to do that. And arsenaling is also very, very good here. So I'm not going to set up with Tectonic Plating. I'm just going to park this Debilitate in Arsenal. Just throw a nice chunky attack, turn 1. If he wants to give us armor, he can give us armor. Yeah, so he doesn't want his first attack to have -2. Ooh, that's pretty good. The edge will wind up off there. So he's going to have an agility on this first turn with 4 cards in hand. So I'm using the blue unmovable here because it's early enough in the game to where I just kind of want to get value out of it. Let's see what he does here. Yeah, he's just setting up, which lets us do the exact same play that we just did the turn before. That's going to be a very common theme throughout playing the Bravo Armory deck, or just playing Bravo in general. Dominate, throw a 4-costed attack using your 2 blues. It's very good. So here, he's blocking for 2 with Battlefront Bastion, which will give him 1 prevention. That's only stopping 5, and he is getting that Debilitate effect, which is really good for us. Alright. I'm not going to bother with this Mandible Claw. We have a nice life lead here. Just going to use our Sink Below to block very efficiently. Ooh, perfect. So look at what we're doing here. We used our 2-cost aura with Go Again to sort of draw another card, see what's going on, see how else we can sculpt our hand. With this 1 floating resource, we're able to activate Tectonic Plating, giving us that Seismic Surge. And because we already have 1 card with cost 3 or greater in our pitch zone, when we attack with Anathos using our other blue, it's coming in for 6 now instead. And this is one of the little idiosyncrasies of the deck. He blocks with Clash of Agility, which we end up winning because we have very high-costed attacks, or high-power attacks. So blocking 6, leaving 3 cards behind is completely fine. Send those to the bottom, and then we arsenal our nice, big, powerful D-React. So now the question is, do I block this? Yes. So I'm going to block with the Emerging Power here. I want to utilize this agility that we got. It's going to be a very niche situation. This isn't going to happen very often, but when it does, it will be good. Because I had the Seismic Surge token from last turn, this only cost me a single blue to attack with. Oh, and this is great. So I really want to highlight this. I love how Rally the Rearguard works in this matchup, where if this had Dominate, he can block with 1 card and still use its ability of discarding a card to get around the Crush effect, which is really, really cool. So, but he's still going to leak some damage, and then because we had Go Again, we can follow up with the Anathos. which is very strong here. Oh wow, is he gonna rally again? Wow, double rally. Oh, and we just draw the Starstruck. This is mean. Yeah, so this is like a very, very lucky hand, is getting 3 blues with the Starstruck. It lets us dominate and attack for 10. But my opponent's been playing smart, has been leaving himself with a lot of armor block. So even if this Starstruck deals 5 damage, its effect says, on Crush, the only attacks the opponent may play or activate are attacks with base power greater than damage dealt. So when he gives me the full equipment suite here, he is taking 5 damage. That means that he can only attack with things with base power 6 or greater. So that means no Mandible Claw, that means no Agile Windup, no Run Roughshod. So definitely stops him from using a lot of attacks, but he can still get around it. And sure enough, yeah, here's a Bare Fangs. Let's see, he's going to go aggro, popping his equipment. So he has another attack to throw after this, which makes me a little bit nervous. We arsenal this unmovable, so let's get the value out of it. So we're blocking for the full 8 here. Let's see what he follows up with. It's the Savage Beatdown. Yeah, really, really powerful turn here. Fighting through our Crush effect. So the question is, do we full block? And I think we do. There's no reason to take damage here. We have such a life lead. We have a very large deck lead too. You can see we have 10 more cards in deck than our opponent. After we draw, it'll be a little less, but definitely doing good here. But he is not letting up the pressure. This is how Kayo kind of wants to win the game. Is by never really letting up on the pressure. We're going to take this damage. So I see a nice play here. Oof. Yeah, we can't take too much damage though. We do have to block eventually. But there was a nice play there with our Disable, where we would have been able to set up with the Tectonic Plating, and using the 2 floating from that, and the 3 that we got from our other blue, we could have attacked for 9. But, you know, we want to keep our life total high. And we can draw into very, very similar plays. So we're gonna try to play around kind of making the same thing happen for us here. Okay. 2 Savage Beatdown turns. Just give them everything. Try to keep our life total as high as possible. And we draw our Crippling Crush in a big red hand. This happens. But now that they've lost a lot of their equipment, anything that we are able to land should stick. So we should really just be looking to kind of protect ourselves here. I'm okay taking a little bit of damage here. Turning Anathos and waiting for us to draw those 3 blues to make the exact same Crippling Crush play that we made earlier. And every single time that we're not quite able to draw it up, we're just gonna cycle it. Block a lot, throw hammer, see what we can get done. Yeah, so not nearly enough good cards here, so we're just gonna block out. So here we're going to do something interesting. So now we're going to use the power of our equipment. So we have 2 reds. Can't even attack with Anathos. We can't even play our emerging power. What do we do when we get hands like these? Well, we can always use one of them to Tectonic Plating. And then we can activate Helm of Ice and Peak, which has this unique ability to give us intellect, letting us draw 5 cards. It's all trying to get us so that we can draw those 3 blues that we need to make this Crippling Crush land. It's really the whole point behind it. And there's our 3 blues. Coming in with the dominate hurts. It hurts. So now we have to think, what happens if he like throws another big bear fangs at us this turn? We're definitely blocking with Tectonic Plating. With 2 blues, we can still play a Crippling Crush. Or we can try to reset by blocking, by throwing Disable instead. 3 blues is what's going to swing the tempo for us. So I think that's what we're going to play around. Yeah, so let's block 4 here. See what the follow-up is. Claw for 3, we're going to block that, because no resources floating, so there's no follow-up attack. Ladies and gentlemen, and NBs, we got him. I screwed up a little bit here, though. With this 1 resource floating, I could have used Tectonic Plating, which does make me a little sad, but this is us taking over the game again. So we lost it a little bit, but now we're landing our big, powerful crush effect. When this crushes, he's going to discard 2 cards, which promotes plays like what he's doing right now, where actually he doesn't block. He lets himself discard the random cards, and then says, I will still be able to throw something back at you. Sure enough, that's what he does, but we have Showtime here for a really cool effect. So I'm going to block 6, take 1, and then we're going to Showtime. So I get to search for any Guardian attack action card, reveal it, and put it into my hand, and then it will draw me a card at the end of my next turn. Though, with a 5-card hand, it's a little risky to do that. So it's, do I set up, or do I press life total? And I think pressing the life total is going to be better in the long run. So I'm going to set up the Seismic Surge here so I can turn on Anothis's extra power ability, come in for 6, and just say, hey, keep giving me cards. You need to keep giving me cards, because otherwise, you're going to die. Blocks with 2 Wrecker Romps. Okay. So we're going to block for 3 here. See if we can't draw something off of our Blessing of Deliverance. We were able to. So now we Tectonic Plating, throw 6. And we get to arsenal this emerging power. And he's going to take it. He has a hand with some good go again. And we have the Macho Grande, which means that we only need to keep 2 blues in hand. So, this is what we've been fighting for all game. Why have we been pitching our blues to the bottom of the deck? Why have we been blocking so much? Why have we just been focusing on swinging weapon? Why are we just trying to extend the game? It's for moments like these, where we get the life lead and say, can you deal enough damage to keep me off of dealing lethal to you? So, we can block 3, and with the Seismic Surge, attack with Macho Grande for 8 Dominate. There's no way he can get around that. So, we are saying, can you deal 17 damage to us this turn? I don't think he can. So I'm only going to block for 3, and we're going to take everything else. Oh wow, here's pulping. Yeah, take 6. Put me to 5, so if he can deal more than 5 damage on this attack, I'm gonna have a hard time. And there's a couple cards that do it, and there's one of them. Wow. We got punished. Ooh, this is hard. This is hard now. Let's block 5. We're going to gain some life from the Blessing of Deliverance. We see that we have a Pummel coming up with 2 blue cards. Setting up is not the thing to do here. We just need to throw 4. We need to force our opponent to block us with 3 or more block. I doubt he's able to put together a strong enough hand. There we go. 6, so we can actually take 6, go to 1, and throw this Crush Confidence with the Pummel on it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get spicy. Let's win with our power card. It's simple. Here's the Crush Confidence. Now, they do know that we have the Pummel. Maybe they weren't paying attention. No, they were. It's fine. We're still 1 over. Is it an on-block in hand? It's not. But that is Bravo right there for you. That is how Bravo wins the game. It's by keeping your life total high, blocking out a lot, preventing as much damage as possible until you can find those moments where you land the really, really powerful hits. And you just need to do it enough times to push through their defensive capabilities. Whether that's armor block, whether that's defense reactions, the moment that they are left unable to deal with you dominating your attack, that is when you take over the game. And then you just need to find the space to throw that last little bit. Another way that we could have gone for ending that game there was blocking out, preventing as much damage as possible, and then just throwing a Nothos every single turn. You can see here, only 10 cards left in the opponent's deck, while we have 24. So, and when he was on 1 life, that means that we could just swing Anathos and demand 2 cards from him every turn. So he has to block with 2 cards, and then he throws 5, 6 damage. We block with 2 cards, we throw 4. And you just do that over and over again until your opponent runs out of cards in deck. That's another way that this endgame could have played out, which was probably a little bit safer than dropping down to 1. But I hope that this was illustrative of the Bravo deck. We have another gameplay video coming up for you right now. So for this game, I'll be playing against a local friend of mine, Luke, here in the SoCal scene. Pretty great guy. We commute to a lot of armories together. And I told him to treat this like any other game. The whole point is to show off how this deck list performs against other similar Armory decks. So he's playing the Boltyn Armory deck first. We won the die roll and we chose to go first. So one of the tips is to go first, to give yourself the ability to set up or dominate. And we are not given either of those opportunities. So we draw a hand of some nice big attacks, which are not good on turn 1. So typically whenever you see something like this, what you're looking to do is park one of these in Arsenal and cycle the rest of them. So with Tectonic Plating, we can get rid of one of our reds. Ooh, it's hard to get rid of the Crippling Crush, but Crippling Crush requires 3 blues to really play efficiently. And we're going to be putting it right next to a bunch of reds, which isn't great. Yeah, drawing both of these in the same hand is really rough. So here's what we're doing. We're making Tectonic Plating, and we're throwing 6. We're just cycling the all-red hand. We're going to park one of these guys in Arsenal, the Crippling Crush. Then we're going to look to hopefully find our nice 3-cost power turn. Okay, Beaming Bravado comes in. He's already going to be able to give it go again, so it's not like we have to block with our unmovable here. Blocking with the Blessing of Deliverance is nice because it doesn't give any additional power. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see if he cares about giving it go again. He does. So we'll take one here. You'll notice that it's a very classic game pattern to go down in life. And you know, yeah, we need to get rid of this Crippling Crush. Here, I'm going to block 3 here, take another damage. Or more with the Courageous Steel Hand. And then on my turn, so this is what's great about drawing a bunch of reds. Even when they're a little awkward, what we can do here is get rid of them with Tectonic Plating. And then that gives us the high-costed card in the pitch zone for Anathos' ability, which if we have 2 cards with 3 or greater value, or 3 or greater cost in the pitch zone, it will gain +2. So we can just come in for 6 here. This is great, because we're not spending any cards in hand to get this to work. And we get one of his D-Reacts out. That is awesome to see. Wow. He does not want to take any damage on this turn. Also blocking with the Grace. Now, in pitch stack, remember we have a yellow at the top, 2 reds. So now we want to put a blue there because blues are really important to how this deck works. Oh man. Another just slightly awkward hand. We'll block for 3 here. Not letting him get that additional charge off. And now we can make a very similar play to what we did. I mean, we could just throw the Crippling Crush. You need to remember, we only have one of these in the deck. It's really important that we dominate it. So I'm actually going to do something a little bit crazier, which is I'm going to leave us playing a little inefficiently to try to set up that better power turn. So once again, I'm pitching the red Unmovable to our Tectonic Plating. And then I'm going to swing with Anathos, leaving a blue in my hand to try to get those 3 blues that we need for our Crippling Crush. We're also really happy to see those 2 D-Reacts are gone. The D-Reacts are how the Boltyn Armory deck is going to play around the Bravo Armory deck. Okay, so he's signaling now, I want this Courage token, I'm going to have a power turn. Which is a little unfortunate because we're hoping to draw. And we don't. This is difficult. Okay, Bolt of Courage. So Bolt of Courage coming in for 3, we don't want that to hit. So now we're going to use some of our equipment block here. I'm thinking maybe we can pop the Helm of Isen's Peak. You'll also notice one awkward thing about the deck list in the matchup. Just Raiden. Well, I feel like he's going to give this go again and follow up with something else, but if he attack reactions it, we can always come in with the Unmovable. No, it's just a 3. So let's see what else does he have. Okay. I'm going to say this is our best opportunity to use the Unmovable. It's very rare that Boltyn's really going to be throwing anything at the 7-8 power level. We've already seen how awkward the Unmovable was in earlier hands. So we're just going to get rid of that. And Helm of Isen's Peak. Let's get our 3 blues. There we go. We have our 3 blues for the Crippling Crush. So we want 3 blues because Crippling Crush costs 7. And then Bravo's ability costs 2. That's 9. Now we just need to block. We can block with 2 of these guys. Oh no, a solar plexus via the Vanguard turn. That is not what we want to see. Well, darn. So we're definitely using equipment on this turn, but we don't want to lead into it too hard. We can only really block with 2 of these. So let's see what else he's got. He didn't charge twice, he only charged once, so I feel like he has a lot of follow-ups here. Yep, and this is great. So this is coming in for 5. Ooh, and I see a great opportunity here to actually block 5 with our blue unmovable. Snatch for 5, which he can give go again. Wow. And we're keeping our 3 blues. We've built up this life deficit to try to throw this Crippling Crush. So I'm going to protect it by doing this. Well, actually, how many cards does he have in Soul? I don't think he has any more cards in Soul. Yeah, so he doesn't have any cards in Soul. So if we block with equipment, that's us protecting our life total. Which I think I'm willing to give him a 2 block 4. Alright, and here we go. This is what we've been fighting for. Dominated Crippling Crush. 11 Dominate. Just really hope he doesn't have that D-React in Arsenal. Because he doesn't have that much equipment block. He's already used 1 aggressively. And so that means that he only has 4 block left here. Even if he drew a D-React in hand, that's only 4, maybe 5 more block. I mean, it would definitely stop this Crippling Crush, but if he doesn't have it... well, he needs exactly Saving Grace, but he doesn't. He will take 4 and lose 2 cards in hand. And just like that, this is how we take back the game, because he just arsenals and passes again. Which is perfect. So now we want to throw this Dominated Disable at him, which will cost 7. It doesn't let us build an arsenal, but we don't really love any of these cards in Arsenal. Macho Grande is a good arsenal target, but more in the late game than right now. We're completely fine pitching Macho Grandes to the bottom. So, I want to throw the Disable anyway. So I'm spending all the cards in hand. I don't really want to arsenal any of these. So I'm going to Tectonic Plating, give Dominate, and then throw this for 9. Yeah, and just like that, we got rid of it. So you can see, with the Crippling Crush, we were able to build the space, and now we almost have the life lead. Oh yeah. And here we go. We're gonna block with Unmovable, and watch this. Showtime. Showtime is a very, very important card for us. When it enters the arena, search your deck for a Guardian attack action card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. And at the beginning of our action phase, we get to break it to draw a card. So just like we used Helm of Isen's Peak to create a 5-card hand to get those 3 blues that we needed, we're going to do the same thing here with Showtime. And we are just going to go grab that Starstruck that we saw in the early game, park it in Arsenal, and next turn we're going to have a 5-card hand. With Boltyn only having 1 card in Soul, we're hoping this might be a little bit of a weaker turn. We also see we have our 3 blues. We could even possibly block with one of them if we felt like it was important. And I will be blocking here to protect our life total a little bit. See what his follow-up is. If it's just Raiden, I'm probably taking that. So Raiden threatening an attack reaction. This is one of those instances where maybe having the unmovable in Arsenal would be good. But he could, because he has 2 cards in Soul, he could also just give it go again, and then follow up with something else afterwards. And if we draw blue, we still have the ability to dominate Bravo. So we can just generally check how many blues versus how many reds do we have in the deck, just really quickly. We've played 3 of our blues and way more reds, so the chance of drawing a red is pretty solid. Or sorry, the chance of drawing a blue is pretty solid. So I'm just going to take this 3. If it's a reaction... okay. We're fine with that because, again, having the life deficit isn't that much of a problem for us, and I'm going to get even meaner here. I'm going to pop Crater Fist because we have this extra blue to give us some additional power. So this doesn't just come in for 10, it's coming in for 12 dominate. Now Starstruck is a really weird effect, but safe to say that if this crushes, Bravo will not be able to attack with anything next turn. So you can see sort of how Crippling Crush and Starstruck just kind of make the opponent have non-turns that fully give us tempo. And taking some damage to make that happen is completely fine because we're going to be able to dominate damage through in the late game. You can also see that we are doing pretty good on deck size. So we have 44 cards in deck. Well, our Boltyn friend over here only has 28. That's very good. Also, anytime a Guardian player complains about Crater Fist, you just show them this clip. I'll make it a short. I'll put it on YouTube. Okay. Now, I think this is the perfect setup turn. We've drawn our 3rd power card in Pummel. We have an emerging power, prepared and ready to go. So let's set up our emerging power. With the 1 resource floating that we get from that, we can Tectonic Plating, and then swing with Anathos, arsenaling our Pummel. Ooh, and he took it to 11. What do we have here? So, we have 2 things we can attack with here. We can attack with Boulder Drop or the Macho Grande. So it looks like he charged once. We have a pretty solid turn here. I mean, I want to put it on this Macho Grande. Macho Grande is 8 with base Dominate. And with Emerging Power, that's 11 with base Dominate. I mean, that's our Crippling Crush right there. And we're putting the Pummel on top of it. So that's actually going to be 15 Dominate on hit, discard a card. So I feel like I can take a lot of damage here. Plus we have this slight life lead. Ooh, take flight's good. So I'll take this. And we still have 2 armor block. So if we're really feeling tight, you know, there's no reason why we can't block with an Imposing Visage, Tectonic Plating, Iron Rot Legs, and then just come in with the Macho Grande. Seismic Surge makes Macho Grande able to be played on a 3-card hand. And it's 11 Dominate with the Emerging Power regardless. But I'm giving myself flexibility here, right? I can go for the big, tall, lethal threat, or I can wait to see what my opponent is doing and adjust on the fly. That's the benefit when everything is just a blue card, and when everything works so nicely around blues. What else you got for me? Lumina Ascension. So do we think Lumina Ascension is enough? I mean, it's life gain, so yes. Life gain is definitely something we want to be avoiding here. We're really lucky we had these Imposing Visages so that we could block it out. Emerging Power is only on the next attack action card. Man. So we let this hit, we go to 6, Boltyn goes to 12, we throw 11 Dominate. He blocks with Warpath or Helm of Halo's Grace. Gives himself the Quicken token, and that really lets him push damage. In fact, it lets him push 6 damage. Guaranteed, pretty much. We could also Boulder Drop Pummel with this current hand, rather than throwing the Macho Grande, and then that disrupts him. Because Boulder Drop's Crush effect is going to make them get rid of a card from their hand. And Pummel is going to make them discard a card. So with that hitting, that gets rid of 2 cards. And still forces him to block. I think we take this and we actually go for Boulder Drop instead of the Macho Grande. We're prioritizing those disruptive effects over the immediate damage. So remember, Boulder Drop costs 1 less. So it goes from 3 to 2. And Pummel costs 2. That's 4. And Bravo costs 2. There's 6. So we can do everything we want to. We're going to Dominate. Throw this for 8. And there's no way that he has the D-React and Arsenal to play around this. We are taking his whole hand. Does he also give us the Helm of Halo's Grace? So this is smart. He's going to charge, and he gets to dodge the crush effect. So this is a great block for him. Unless we have pummel. Seven, and we get rid of both cards. And now it's just simple Bravo gameplay. I haven't been able to show this turn at all in this game, but this is actually what Bravo's looking to do. Dominate, and then throw the 4 for 8. We just want to do that over and over again. And being able to arsenal something like the Sink Below, that is the perfect Bravo hand. So he is going to charge, it looks like. We're going to arsenal this Sink Below. 3 go again. We can block this with the Blessing of Deliverance, which blocks it nicely. I like this because look, if we can just dominate this Chokeslam, we win the game. I don't think there's a way for him to deal 6 here. Oh, Lumina! Wow! Lumina is so good here! But we have the Sink Below! Then he comes in with the other 4. Even if he hits and gains a life, and goes, which he will, he'll go to 2, but it doesn't matter. We have the Dominate. Oh, man. And there's the game. So those were 2 of the games that I played during my testing. Yes, they were both games that I won, but I chose these because I felt like they were very indicative of what the deck is trying to do. I showed you that it's okay to fall behind a little bit in the early game, how to play around our pivots, how to get out of awkward hands, show you a little bit of the nuances in the matchup, specifically with Kayo and Boltyn. But ultimately, I can't show off every deck against every single Armory deck as it's going to come up. I'm always going to be a little piecemeal about it. But hopefully you still enjoyed. Hopefully you learned a little something about Bravo, about the deck list. I really encourage everyone to go out and build this deck, either just to have on hand when a local comes around with the Armory deck. You can try playing this against them so that there's something a little bit more balanced for them to play against. Or you make it for a friend who's trying to get into the game and got excited about Bravo. That's really what this is all about, helping the community and giving you guys deck lists and tools to help bring in new players. With that being said, go do all the YouTube-y things, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm especially really interested in hearing what decks you guys want to see me make. I've been thinking maybe Runeblade, maybe Warrior, but no promises. Tell me what heroes you'd like to see, and make sure that you follow the link down below to the full article over on the Rathe Times. Thank you all so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves.